You know, I'm going to blame this one on the year, I think. What's going on, Dungeon Dwellers? Welcome back to Dave's Dungeon and Spooktober 2023. Today we are talking about Dr. Sleep, and we got to get off in this one quick because this is a 2-hour movie. This thing is huge. So, this is directed by Mike Flanagan, and this is obviously written by Stephen King, and we know how these movies can go when they're written by Stephen King. You know, the writer intended one thing, and the movie may or may not reflect that. You get that sometimes, and can be expected. But we're going to get off into this without any kind of gilding. So let's dive right into that body count, because I don't have a lot of time, and I'm doing this late. We have one intro music from The Shining. Yes, that is the original Dies Irae from the classic Shining little stinger. Now, I know some of you are going, wait a minute, that's not the Dies Irae. I know it's another version of it. There are several. Don't be confused. But if you look on the actual soundtrack for The Shining, you'll find Dies Irae, and that's the song you look for. One Rose the Hat introduction, singing Wild Irish Rose, which kind of reminded me of a siren, but it's a good introduction to this amazing villain. One Violet for a Sweet Violet, that you just want to gobble up. One is the special ones that always taste best, quote. Just pure display of what Rose the Hat's about and what this group of people is about, because the villains in this movie are probably one group that I would say any of us could get behind, but I'm not so certain anymore nowadays. I mean, what would you do to live forever? One magical hat that is special, and one little girl that is too. One nostalgic shot of that old hotel from before with carpet pattern in the intro card. One, I was younger the last time I was here shot. It's sort of a nostalgia bomb at the beginning of this movie. So if you're not prepared, it directly connects to The Shining. If you don't know that going into this film, you're going to be a little confused. You're going to be like, why is it referencing this little boy? And what, can't we just see that? Yes, you can. It's called The Shining. Go watch it. One close-up on room 237 where the tub thumping happened, you know, with the Chumbawamba. One, oh my God, she's naked, and I'm so fucking scared right now, I peed my pants shot. I'm not much of a Will Ferrell, but you can imagine, I'm so fucking scared right now. One, they followed Dan from the Overlook Hotel. Ghost sequence that I'm just going to say, if that was happening to me, I'd pee my pants too. Well, I guess I don't need to use the bathroom anymore. One, you gotta help me out, Dick. Is there a manual for this shit or something scene? Because, yeah, if I was Dan, I would take my coffee and cigarettes with the morning cereal at this point. One, world's a hungry place. Oh, wait, nope, skip one. One, learning how to mentally defend yourself from an old friend. With, quote, world's a hungry place, and the darkest places are the hungriest, quote, from Dick Halloran. That ends up being a little bit of foreshadowing if you don't know the story. One Violet Hanson missing poster in the park, right there next to Dan. Letting you know just how protected he was, or not. He could have been dead, so dead. One what's up, Doc reference, callback to Dan being the Doc in The Shining and that special relationship between him and Dick right before he uses what Dick showed him. One giving Dad's old lady in the tub the business. Scene between Danny and the room 237 woman. Also known as Chumbawamba now. One little Danny Torrance cut to all grown up. And drunk just like his father. Hello there. I tried to resist it, but there's no resisting that infamous scene. One not remembering how you got there or what happened last night trope, because of course we're all gonna snap to a moment where the character's gonna remember so we can see it. One taking money from a dead mother and her baby. New low score, because I didn't know there were levels of just shitty behavior that I could further, distance myself from a character from. But Jesus Christ, I would have never. But I guess he's in dire straits. Boom, boom. No, that's not dire straits. One, get out of my head, Dick. It's rough seeing ghosts as an adult. Ghost adults. Gults. Wow. It's rough seeing ghosts as an adult. One introduction of Snakebite Andy. And best part of Snakebite Andy is, you want to know how I got these scars? Yeah. Good story. One, making the proper introductions, offers, and deals with Andy and the True Knot. One, this is what happens when you don't get the therapy for that time when your dad in a house almost killed you. Any surprises, Dan's a mess. When Abracadabra does a magic trick with all the kitchen cutlery in the kitchen. Introduction of Abra Stone. If you thought Dan was powerful being a little pistol, Abra is a shotgun. One, scaring your parents, your spirit guides, your therapist, and the devil with how powerful you are. One, you're not a girl anymore, but you don't have a single dent yet. Gravity hasn't even noticed you, quote, that if you didn't know she was checking her out, now you do. One, eat well, stay young, live long. Deal. That sounds like immortality, but you should read the fine print. One, getting on the right bus at the right time and going to a strange little town. It's technically called Teeny Town, but not important. One, you look drunk and homeless. Are you drunk and homeless? Do you need a job conversation? It's sort of one of those, somebody looks at you and goes, yep. I see it. You need some help. One, running away from yourself, but making friends who can actually help you. Because if you can't help yourself, stop. Find friends that can actually help you. If you can't help yourself, stop trying to help yourself. Maybe that's what screws you up. One, is this your first time doing whippets on the beach while people watch? Scene between Andy and Rose. One, joining a cult never tells you it's a cult until you're vaping a dead girl's ashes. You know, because a cult never tells you it's a cult until end up drinking something. One waking up next to an ex and need a drink scene. Yeah, because Dan starts to see shit again, because of course his powers come back, and of course that's why he drank. He was self-medicating. Get off him. And that makes me wonder how much Jack Torrance was self-medicating too, because we know Jack gets messed with by the house and is shining as well. Dan does a lot, but he's not very sort of understanding of the position his father was in. And if you want a book, or if you want a story that more completely captures that and actually has a Dan that's asking those questions, you should read the book, because I've also read the book, and I tell you, the book's good. The book's really good, and in some ways better than the movie, in the way it all comes down and how it all comes together. But I'm going to tell you, I like all three. I like the book, I like the extended edition movie ending, because I've seen that, and I like the normal theatrical cut of the movie as well. So please, whatever way you can find and watch this movie, go watch it. One, realizing you need help and going to get your friend Billy, which I gotta say, Billy, OG, he's a great friend in this, and my Billy's awesome too, so shout out to Billy's. Well, first day of AA, and the psychic powers are already getting Dan into trouble, because, of course, Dan's got to know where the watch is at. But hey, knowing where the watch is at ends up getting Dan the job. How does Dan become a doctor? Backstory finally explained. Meh, what's up, Doc? One waking up after the orgy is always a little different for everybody, scene with Andy sort of having to come to grips with what just occurred. One, it felt like I was dying. You did. Quote, partied a little too hard on that beach. One, Asriel, the cat, escorts an old friend home one last time. Yeah, the cat knows when someone's going to die, and this is how Dan sort of figures out what his purpose and place is supposed to be, at least for a little while. One, oh my God, we get it, old man, you vape. Scene. Death by Deathiness Foo. One, hey, she stole my line. Hello there. Abra messages Dan for the first time. One, 8 years later jump cut, because the book does shit we don't want to deal with. Movie Foo. Dan gets his 8-year AA chip. One of the saddest little songs that you're going to hear in your lifetimes. Just, rip my heart out, Kali Ma style. One, Grandpa Flick is not doing well, and the knot is a little low on steam. This is a family that does drugs together. As it turns out, they only have 2 canisters remaining, which for people who can live 6 months on one meal, I mean, it's not bad, but come on, y'all need to find some of that stuff. But don't worry, they're finding a refill. One, I can't believe I'm doing this, trigger warning. Evil bad guys kill a kid and cut him up for his steam. Warning. Just saying it now. It's disturbing. It will bother you. It is, fucked up shit beyond all repair. Okay? It is. Once you see this, you can't unsee this. Steam eater food. One Abradabadoo can also see it too. Baseball boy gets steamed. One Rose the Hat has noticed how big Abra has grown, and this is not good for Abra. One really loud red rum yell that blows open chunks of the wall, because Dan would never be that strong. But it got his attention and probably made him lose his deposit on his apartment, probably. One letting none go to waste scene with putting what's left of the baseball boy into a canister. One, in case someone found out, this meeting would definitely get Dan arrested. Dan has to meet with Abra. They kind of figured that out, so they work towards it. One, kids on the internet are better than the FBI at tracking things down scene. One, think Harvard in 3 years quote. Because yeah, that's what she's worried about. She's worried about not ending up like Uncle Dan or the baseball boy. Which, I don't know which is worse. One, finding out where they left him from a seizure. Better than GPS, almost. One, who needs drugs when you can just tip the world scene. One, she's so powerful, she just threw me right out of her head scene. One, even Dan felt Abra do what she just did. One, is she food or friend question that Crow Daddy asks, which I think, given the outcome of the movie, Rose might have been smart to consider. One, Azzy and Dick decide to kick the shit out of Dan because he decides not to help Abra. At least for now. Yeah. Get in here! Get in here! Get in here! One, it's Dan's turn to protect Abra, just like he was once protected. And yeah, when it comes around, it really comes around. One, crazy maniac in the sky. Rose the Hat can fly twice as high. Scene. One, setting a trap for the eaters of screams. Yeah, degloved hand foo. For those of you who are worried about certain things, yeah, degloved hand foo. One, getting flung off the roof of an RV foo. One, Grandpa Flick cycles out of existence and is eaten by the rest of them foo. One, asking your best friend to do something insane at 4 a.m. because we're actually best friends. One, telling Abra about the Overlook. And what's in the box? What's in the box? One, if you're crazy, I can work with that quote, which I gotta say, as a friend rationalizing whether his friend has gone crazy, I gotta say that was genius. It's like, if you're crazy and what you told me is just you cycling, I can deal with that. But if you're right and you're telling me the truth, that's almost too much. I almost can't believe that. It's almost easier to believe you're crazy. One, they didn't even bury him right. story that'll be hard to hear. If you know anything about cleaning game or, the smell of things after they've died, this will be a hard scene for you to bear. One, do you still got those hunting rifles quote that leads into Abra, you got to tell your parents. But as we see, Abra almost gets Dan justifiably killed. Which, at that point, would any of us have blamed Mr. Stone? One Abra ends up having to make Dad glimpse the unthinkable. One scrying on the knot using a dead boy's baseball glove. One Abra does a little magic trick to set up a trap to cut the knot off. One goodbye, Billy. You were my friend. You have been the one for me. One Dad gets killed as collateral damage because, of course, you can't become an ascended hero until your parents are dead. And Abra ends up getting kidnapped by Crow. One Abra gets a taste of the good shit. So now the Shining, trauma, drugs triangle is complete in Abra's life. Dan also starts to spiral, but decides to shine instead. One old dog learns a new shiny trick from Abra, though. Can you fly, Crow Daddy? One, wow, she's so mad, you can almost feel it from here scene. Because you could definitely see it. One Rose the Hat gets juiced on 2 whole canisters of steam. And remember, she's eating people's whole power sets, so who knows what that's doing to her. One going to hide in a dangerous place, final trap. I gotta go wake it up. And boy, oh boy, sitting at that bar was the most uncomfortable thing. But I'm not spoiling anything. One using your inner demons to your advantage. But, as always, that has consequences. One burning down this place finally so the nightmare can end. And the ultimate sacrifice foo. And finally, maybe Ghost Uncle Dan will help you cheat on some tests like Dick Halloran I know would. I gotta say, this movie is 4 skulls. Dave says you need to see it because this film is too good to miss. And I gotta say, it's 2 hours, but it's a good 2 hours. It really is a really good 2 hours. MVP awards to Ewan McGregor playing Dan, Rebecca Ferguson playing Rose the Hat, Kylie Curran playing Abra, Emily Allen Lind playing Andy, Snakebite Andy, Jacob Tremblay playing Brandon the baseball boy. I think his name's Brandon. It may be Trevor. I'm names are leaving me. One Zahn McLaren who played Crow Daddy, which oh my god, I want him in more stuff. I need him in more things right now. One Carl Lumbly reprising the roles of Dick Halloran in loving memory of Scatman Carruthers. One Alex Essos recasting the role of Wendy. One Henry Thomas playing the role of Lloyd or Secret Wink, nudge nudge spoilers. And one Cliff Curtis playing Billy, which I also want to see him in more stuff. It's like I've seen him in this and I've seen him in Live Free or Die Hard, and he was fantastic in both. But Dave says you got to see this. Dave says this is one that you definitely want to put your eyeballs on. And a lot of people are like, well, do I have to watch The Shining? It's better if you do. but I think this one kind of stands alone enough that you can see it without it, okay? Now, the gory details here are, I do think you need to know that backstory. I do think you need to have The Shining in your repertoire when you see it, because it references too much of what this place is and what it did to him and what Shining is and everything else. So while it's a good place to jump in if you don't want to go that route, you can. But at the same time, you really should watch The Shining first. And I gotta say, The Shining is a 5 out of 5 classic. I can't rate The Shining. The Shining, to me, whether it's the book or the movie, you really can't go wrong. Both of those are great. But in the case of Dr. Sleep, you get different stories almost. So definitely go read the book, and definitely at least go watch one version of this movie. Now, I do recommend the director's cut with the extra footage. Yeah, that's a better ending to me than what you get with just the theatrical version. I was a little disappointed in the theatrical version. That's why this review is actually for that. Why I gave it 4 stars. The longer version, I actually think I would have kicked it up to 4.5. But anyways, let's not make this review too terribly long. And I gotta say, I think Rose the Hat is a villain for all time. That's gonna be one of the things I'm gonna leave you with as a thought. And if you agree, leave it down in the comments. But that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe and check out my Twitter page. If you want to know what films we're watching, I have a list up there. The next film for the next video is Host. It's a Shudder original. Please check it out and make sure you join us again on our next adventures, Dungeon Dwellers. But until then, let me just say this. Here's Johnny.